Welcome everyone to Art School Live. I'm Lisa Skelly and I am your guest host this week while Eric is traveling in Florence, Italy. So I have a very special guest for you today. We've already had two amazing guests and it's the middle of the week already. So we are going to be interviewing and we're going to be checking in with Danny Folkman. So I recently met Danny at some of the best plein air invitationals in the country. And one of them recently was Laguna Plein Air. And boy, does he knock it out of the park with his beautiful gouache paintings. And I'm so excited to talk to him today and find out all of his tips and tricks and techniques. Just like we've been doing all week, we get and find their secrets and he's going to share with us. So let's welcome Danny Folkman.
Morning, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Danny, it's great to see you today. And Danny, why don't you tell everybody what you're going to be sharing with us today?
I'm going to be painting a car. I get asked a lot about how to paint cars because I guess they can be pretty tough to suggest accurately. Probably. So that's what I'm going to be talking about.
Awesome. All right. So without further ado, let's get this show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose. Now, here's your host, Eric Rose.
As you can see, I am not Eric Rose, but I am so excited to be your guest host this week. And today we're going to be talking to Danny Folkman about how to paint vehicles. Today he's going to be painting a car and it's so cool. I've already seen his practice run. And Danny, let's take it away.
All right. So this is so I'll do a sneak preview. This was what we're going to be working on.
So cool.
So this is I did this yesterday. This is a 1956 𝗖𝗶𝘁𝗵.
Wow.
It's 56. You could kind of tell with the Bel Airs by the tail fins.
Yeah.
This one also happened to have a 56 on the license plate, so that gave it away. But the 57 is the year that has the most dramatic tail fins.
Wow.
And, so this was at a car show in Burbank a few months ago. So when I'm painting cars, if I'm painting cars plein air, well, whether I'm painting them plein air or I'm at home, I always start with a sketch. And I always like to emphasize this because your drawing, when it comes to suggesting cars accurately, I think is the most important thing without question. The drawing has to be accurate because otherwise they look kind of wonky and out of place, especially when they're painted in perspective, which is partly why I chose this one because it's got kind of a cool angle.
Yeah.
I wanted to see here. I've got a couple little sketches. Like this is the most that I'll do when I'm doing
it's
a
so
sketch.
Tiny. What is it, like 1 inch, 1 by 2?
Not even that big. I think this whole book is like 4 by 6. So I mean, super tiny, super quick. This is actually a similar car to what we're looking at. It's not a Bel Air, but it's something like you can see the little tail fin suggested there.
Yeah.
But I just show this to show how suggestive this sketch is, just to kind of get an understanding of the shapes and the perspectives. Like this is one car here, and then this is the shadow of another car that was right next to me. So I just want to block in that important information. So that's already what I've done with this. I went ahead and did that because I wanted to make sure I could get this done in time.
Are you working on illustration board?
That's right.
Yes. And then how did you start your little composition sketch there? What did you use for that beautiful underpainting?
So for the underpainting for a daytime scene like this, I always do raw sienna, a raw sienna wash. There's a little bit of a lemon yellow wash right in the center. It's a lot lighter because that's where our brightest light is.
Okay.
So I'm keeping it light under where the white is going to be. And it's just slightly darker. It's not much of a big difference. Just a very transparent layer of raw sienna raw sienna and then burnt sienna is darker.
Where your shadows are.
Right, but it's still keeping it super transparent.
And glowy.
Gouache,
It's really glowy. So it's gonna, that's pretty.
exactly. Well, that's why I keep it transparent, because if you do it too opaquely, which is tempting with gouache, if you go too thick with it, it gets very chalky and matte. So for the painting, you got to keep it transparent, because it'll, if you leave some of that showing throughout the painting, it gives it the impression of glow, which hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate with like the bright white highlights on top here and here. If you leave a little bit of a broken edge with some of this orange showing through, it really makes it pop.
Yeah.
So that's why it's
transparent. So you think it's pretty important how you start? This looks like a strong start.
Yes, totally. You gotta, especially when you're doing something that is recognizable like a car, that your foundation is the most important thing.
Yeah.
With the landscape, there's a lot more leeway, because you could, I think, because you can kind of, if you fudge a little bit of it, if it's not entirely accurate, you might not notice.
Totally. Yes. Landscapes are very forgiving. I agree.
Exactly. But with a car or with buildings, which is mostly what I end up painting, it's got to look like the thing you're painting.
Got to look accurate. Perspective has got to be accurate.
Yeah. And people, I just did a little workshop in Laguna, and people ask me a lot about how to draw in perspective. I just tell everybody to draw everything all the time. Keep a sketchbook on you and just practice all the time. There was nothing that I did in particular to figure out how to draw things in perspective. It's just, although there was one thing I keep mentioning to people. When I started drawing LA before I moved here, I was drawing it from Google Street View photo. Google Street View is really good to practice perspective, because everything kind of looks like the way that this reference photo looks like. It's all very kind of fish-eyed.
Yeah.
And so I like that effect. But that was a good perspective practice course, I guess, painting from there.
From Google Street View.
Yeah. Yeah.
What color are you using for the shadow, Danny?
Oh, so I should show you my palette before I continue. Let me wipe this real quick. So this is mostly ultramarine and a little bit of cad red. So this is what I'm working with.
Cool.
White, lemon yellow, raw sienna, burnt sienna, cad red, opera pink, phthalo blue, ultramarine, and Prussian blue.
Wow. Okay.
My entire palette there's a lot more colors that I have in my bag, but I only like to squeeze out what I think is necessary for what I'm painting. Because it makes it easier to control your colors when you do it that way.
So you have, would you say you have a limited palette on today?
Yeah. It's not a super limited palette, but I'm just only squeezing out what I see as absolutely necessary to get the colors in this particular image.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't want to get, normally I might have like an orange lake light in there, or a spectrum violet, or Windsor green, and I just don't see any reason to have any of those colors in here. And if I have them on the palette, it's very tempting to start mixing them into stuff. So I just don't bother. I also want to point out for my shadows here, the camera, at least on my end, it looks like it's really like up in the saturation, but it's not quite that vibrant blue on my end. But I'm keeping the shadows as I drop in the shadow. I'm starting with my shadow because it is the darkest spot in this image. So I know I can paint it accurately with the first few strokes, so that I can compare everything else to that, so that all my values remain accurate throughout the painting. But I'm also keeping it transparent, because with gouache, transparent shadows read much darker than if you paint them opaquely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to be able to see through it just as you would if you were standing there in real life. So
yeah, in real life, this shadow back here, I mean, you can kind of see it in the picture, but there's all kinds of color in here. It's mostly reflecting the sky color. So another tip with painting cars too, the darkest part of any car painting is always going to be the area directly underneath the car.
Yep.
because there's no light being reflected. It is like pretty much pure black. So that's
And then it gets a little bit lighter and a little bit more color you can see as the shadow goes away from the object that you're painting.
exactly. As
Yeah.
it stretches out, it starts to reflect some light. So that's another good thing to look for when you're painting cars to make it believable. Is anytime I have a painting or a scene with a car in it, I pretty much always start with dropping in the shadow underneath the car, because I know that's going to be my darkest dark.
Oh, nice. So Danny, we have people visiting from all over the world. So I just wanted to share with you some of the locations where people are watching today. We've got Tulsa, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Southern California, Kansas, New York. Oh my goodness, look at this. New York City, Jacksonville, Florida, Maryland. Watching from Canada, and oh my gosh, the Netherlands. Oh my goodness, Gerda from the Netherlands.
Wow.
Fairfield, New Jersey. Welcome everybody to our show today with Danny Folkman. We've got Nevada. Look at all this. And then they're going to be asking questions. Baltimore. Hello, Baltimore. And oh my goodness, Ontario, California. Oh, nice and close. So look, everybody is checking in with Danny, and going to be learning some techniques for painting cars. Look at this; it already looks cool.
It's really cool. I like hearing where everybody's watching from.
I know. So we got Alaska. Oh my goodness, and Kentucky. Wow,
that's awesome.
I know. It's really cool. They're excited, Danny. They need to learn about painting vehicles. So. Pressure's on.
So this is when I'm painting cars, I like to simplify. I mean, with anything, you want to simplify it as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But with cars, I like to think of them just as metal boxes, just shiny metal boxes. And so simplifying all of what I mean by that is simplifying all the planes, the way that you would, like as a landscape painter, they talk about simplifying the planes of like rocks, right?
Right.
Sense of the rocks. It's the same thing with cars. You could break this down into just a very basic, like square. Like I imagine it as a low resolution video game or something, right? Where this just becomes very boxy. So you've got the side plane here, and then the top, and then the back, and that's it. And the thing to keep in mind when you're painting cars to make them believable is the reflections. Because even if you, when you're painting them, the drawing is the most important part. But then once you've got the drawing in, if you don't accurately suggest the reflections, because these are metal, most of them nowadays aren't metal. This one's metal. It doesn't look right because they're shiny metal boxes, so we have to make them look shiny. So you got a
painted surface that has sparkle and reflections on it.
Yeah, and it's really easy to miss. Like I've painted them a million times before, and there's always something. For a long time, there was always something a little off, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I was painting some cars in Philly back in the early summer, and that's when that like clicked. I painted this row of cars that were kind of under all this cast or dappled light from trees, and there was all this reflected light all over the place. It was really complex, and I painted the cars, and I just painted them as I saw them, but I couldn't figure out what I did wrong, and it was because I didn't suggest all the reflections that were being picked up. And as soon as the reflections, I mean, this isn't too crazy. The only reflection we're getting on this is like the sidewalk or the street, kind of. You can see it in here.
Oh, okay.
Which is the slightly lighter area right in here. It'll make more sense once it's filled out. But with that particular scene, there was all this light bouncing around, and I had just painted like the side of the car, like instead of paying attention to all that, I had just done like blue and white, and it just looked flat. So the reflections are really important just to make note of.
I like that shadow color. You're using the white and shadow on the side of the car. It looks like a beautiful lavender color.
Yeah, I put a little bit of pink in there. When I did the practice run yesterday, I didn't use opera pink because opera pink for me, I love it. It's awesome, but it just gets into every single painting I do. Like everything becomes pink and purple. So I have to like control myself.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm keeping in mind too with this shadow, the brightest whites are going to be, you know, the highlights like here and here, and then right on the top of the roof right there. So I want to make sure I'm really tinting down this white in shadow so that those will still stand out.
Very cool. Oh, we just got someone from Germany checking in.
Wow.
All over the world. That is so
awesome.
Cool. Hello, Germany.
For this side panel color, I'm using phthalo blue and a little bit of lemon yellow. Anybody was wondering? Sorry.
Oh, one of my favorite car colors is this car that you're painting right now with the white and the almost like a turquoise aqua color. It's so pretty. We have a few of those around Laguna Beach and around Southern California. You see these every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For the 𝗣𝗶𝘁 in particular, this is actually a very sought out color because, so the name of this color I think is Jamaican turquoise. And I don't know if that's the specific color of this one. This looks like a little more blue than the Jamaican turquoise, but that could just be the photo. But the 𝗣𝗶𝘁, so Chevy ran when I think it might have been the 57 year. So maybe it wasn't 56. Obviously this is, you know, this probably wasn't the original color that this particular car was when they got it. But I think the year in 57, they had a color choice. They had a choice of colors that you could order, and one of them was Jamaican turquoise. But when customers tried to order it, they said that it wasn't available. So it was never actually put into production because Chevy had tested the color and they found that they had mixed it and they thought it was ready to go. And then after a while, they realized about 6 months it faded to a really ugly green in the sun.
Oh no!
So they kept it on the you know, whatever the package was that you would get when you would order the car at the dealership or whatever. It was still listed as a color choice. So people would order it and then they just said, oh, it's not available at this time. So then later on, you know, as people started collecting them and they became rarer, people started, newer paints came out and they were able to mimic that color. And so
wow,
a lot of people paint them that color, even though it never actually ran with that color when they were making them.
So, Danny, when did you become interested in cars and painting cars?
Well, my interest in cars started when I was little with the movie Cars, Pixar movie. I just think it's definitely my favorite animated movie. It's my favorite Pixar movie. And I got to meet 𝗍𝗀 when we were in Sonoma.
That's right. Yeah.
And I just thought it was the coolest thing because he told me all about it. And 𝗍𝗀 did a lot of the concept artwork, and he basically designed all the landscapes in Cars.
In pastel, which is my favorite medium is pastel, and then gouache is my second favorite medium.
So that started my love of cars. I mean, they're just cool. Like,
yeah.
I just think they're awesome. And then I think Tim Horn was the one that inspired me to start painting them. You know Tim's.
Wow. He's really well known for how he depicts cars in his paintings too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His stuff is awesome. So once I only recently started painting them. Well, they've always been a part of like street scenes and stuff, but recently I started painting them, like focusing more on them. Like actually around the time when we met in Sonoma was really when I was getting into it pretty heavily. That whole week I think I only painted cars.
You did it very, very well, by the way.
Thank you.
That was fun to see your paintings from that week. So I have a question for you, Danny, from our audience. Do you mind sharing how you mix and apply the paint to keep adjacent stripes of color that add vibrancy?
Yes. Let me get to an area. Back here will be a good area to demonstrate that, because there's a lot more striation that I see in there. So, but I'll show you what I'm doing right here. Let me spray these real quick because gouache dries like instantly. I have to spray it every few minutes.
Mhm.
So I'll basically have a puddle for each color, and that helps to keep it clean too. Like I've got, this was the blue, this was my my side panel puddle, which has gotten a little too muddy. And here's where I'm pulling from for the roof there. So this is my white in shadow. The paint is really thick. It's kind of, might be hard to tell on camera, but as you're mixing it, once you see those striations in your mixed pile, that's the consistency that I'm looking for.
Okay.
It's really hard to try and I think that's one thing that just takes some messing around. Mike Hernandez is actually he's the one that kind of like helped me figure out that consistency, because his mantra is take it from there. You know, so once he said that, by default, I think all of us like will squeeze out just a little bit of paint and be very sparing with it and try to just pull as much as we need. And then I did a workshop with his a few years ago, and we were painting out at 𝗍𝗶𝘁𝗵 Rocks or something, and I just squeezed out a ton. And I still don't squeeze out a ton of paint, but I squeezed out just a ton of paint and started painting just with the pigment itself, like not really watering it down at all.
Oh, okay.
And it's so much. You still need some water, but it's so much fun to just play with it. Like you see the striations in there.
Yeah, I do.
This is pretty much just straight paint. There's a little bit of water in here because I've sprayed it, but I'm not dipping into my water at all right now. I'm just pulling paint right from here. That's how you keep the most vibrant colors.
Very cool. You just answered another question too. How much do you dilute the paints? So
it
depends
depends what I'm like for the shadow. The shadow is very transparent, which just means a lot more water. Once I start getting into all the colors up in here, it's barely diluted. It's only diluted as much as I'm spraying it, just misting it to keep it alive. But I'm not. And also when I mist it, I cover this part of my where I'm mixing with my hand so that I don't mist this. I don't want my mixing puddles to get wet,
right?
Because then you lose the consistency. It gets too wet.
Good tip, though. So,
yeah,
can you mix gouache on your painting surface or just on your palette?
You can mix it on the surface. There's times, well, in a way, I like to do that with the undermixed strokes, like keeping those striated brush strokes in there. That mimics letting it mix on its own in a way. But if you're painting, I do it most often with like seascapes and landscapes because it's more natural shapes. If you keep the surface a little bit wet and you mist it in between, it'll keep the paint active, and so each brush stroke will sort of blend into the one next to it.
Yeah.
It happens a lot on the coast because the coast is a lot more, humid. There's a lot more humidity in the air, and so the paint stays active, and it's a lot of fun. It can be fun if you're painting something like a car, where I want hard edges and it needs to read as a car. Then it's tough because then your brush strokes end up bleeding into each other. But it's really good for seascapes and landscapes. And to do that, you would I don't want to do it here because it would make it a little too muddy. But You just use the spray bottle that you're misting your paint with, and just mist the whole page, and then apply your paint, and it kind of bleeds into each other. It's really, really cool.
So is that wet on wet, like in watercolor?
Pretty
like
much.
You're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good, like, there's a lot of watercolor techniques that work great with gouache.
Yeah.
And especially, like, I would use that for water reflections. I did a scene of the LA River recently at night, and the river, there was a lot more water in the river than usual, because there's usually not actually any water in the LA River. And all the water reflections, you just mist the canvas, and you just kind of let the colors just bleed and run off the page, and it does a really cool job of mimicking reflections. So I'm not really working in any particular order with this painting. Like I a lot of times people ask, like, what do you start with when you start painting? Like, are you working dark to light or light to dark? Or are you starting with sometimes I'll start with just a focal point. It just depends what the scenery is. In this situation, I'm going to start with my shadow, like I said, because I know that I can paint that color accurately, which is an idea that I got, I think, from first from Mark Boges, but Mark Boges got it from Richard Schmidt. And he talks about that in 𝗖𝗿𝗀𝗺, his book, where you start with just literally one brush stroke that you know you can place down accurately the first time, so that everything else is compared to that, so that your values remain accurate. So that was pretty much my thought process with this one. Usually I would recommend, I tell people not to bounce around the canvas as they're working, because that way you can have a finished painting at any stage. If you kind of work from one particular spot out, which is what Schmid did, you could like pick a particular rock or something and build out from there, and then you can stop at any time and pretty much have a complete painting. I'm kind of breaking my rule with this one, but there's just so many fun little details here. Right now, I'm kind of suggesting some of the chrome highlight, and the cool thing about chrome is it reflects like pure sky color. It's not as bright as the sky. Reflections are never as bright as the thing being reflected, which is another thing to keep in mind with cars, because there's a lot of reflections. But it's just like this really cool, vibrant blue.
Yeah.
That the chrome picks up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to adjust my curtain because they're just getting...
There's like a little streak of light on there.
Yeah.
So we have another question for you when you get that, or you got your curtain adjusted. Do you, I already know the answer to this one, but yes, you use gouache for your underpainting, but also how do you choose the color of your underpainting? So we did answer that a little bit earlier, but once again, Danny, will you share with our audience, how do you choose the color of your underpainting?
Yeah, I base it off the lighting in the particular scene that I'm painting. Usually with the daytime scene, I go with raw sienna, because when you have bright highlights, to leave a little bit of that raw sienna showing around the edge gives it you can kind of, I haven't dropped in the background yet, so the effect isn't really there, but you can see it a little bit like here, and then like maybe here. If you leave a little bit of that raw sienna on the edge, like as a broken edge along your brightest highlights, it really looks like it's glowing. Yeah. So that's what I do for my daytime. Sometimes I'll do 𝗍𝗶𝗁 because I see more pink in the early morning atmosphere. And if it's a nighttime scene, I'll usually do 𝗍𝗶𝗁 or alizarin crimson. And that's because the alizarin crimson, it's much darker already than raw sienna, but it gives the whole, because a nighttime scene can be so blue, way that our eyes perceive it. having red underneath just kind of, it's a really nice compliment, and it warms up the whole scene, and it gives it sort of a rosy, like, warmth and a glow that I.
Oh, very cool. That makes sense.
I also got that from a movie called 𝗣𝗶𝗁 at nighttime in LA. It's a very romanticized view of LA, but at nighttime. Yeah,
love that movie.
It's an awesome movie, and I tried to. So when I was painting LA at night, I tried to mimic what it looks like in the movie, and I ended up with 𝗣𝗶𝗁𝘁 as my underpainting. Everything looks kind of purpley. I'm going to show you now how I go. I'm going to just do a couple of strokes to suggest the shadow on the back of the car. So I'm just going to mix and see how, hopefully show how I get some of that, like some of those broken streaks in there. Because this is in the shadow, and I see a whole bunch of colors in there, I'm like pulling from all these puddles.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
There's a little bit of water in here, but I'm off the camera. I'm wiping my brush on my towel to take the water out of it. But it's still kind of wet. You can see it's still running a little bit. But for this shadow, I'll kind of just pull colors as I glance back and forth at my photo and pull colors that I see in there. So there's.
Oh, it's fun to see you mix it in front of us. That's so cool.
This is what I'm maybe a little up warmth. And then another thing I'm going to do is, as I start to put it down, I'm going to mix in between each stroke too. So like that's probably a little too dark. Part of the reason I do that is just because that right there, if you put it down and it looks like it's going to dry too dark, then you can go in and up just a little bit.
Yeah. You're always comparing the relationship of that next to the color next to it. That's really a great thing to remember.
Exactly. I try to resist the temptation to cover a whole area. It's very tempting to like just, okay, mix the shadow color and like cover that whole spot. But by doing it this way and comparing each stroke directly to the last, it looks more interesting to lay the paint down that way, and making sure that your values stay accurate and your colors are accurate. Sorry, I didn't realize I pulled my palette out of the view, but I'm just tinting it a little bit, but I'm still mixing in the same pile. And I want to lighten it up a little bit, I think, for this spot.
Gosh, it's so helpful to see you mixing it in front of us. That's so awesome.
I know. I wish I had one of those. I don't have a fancy setup where you can see both at the same time.
The palette cam. So another question for you, Danny. Can you talk about the perspective on top of the top portion of the car? Is it like a second box on top of the main body?
The perspective on the top portion of the car, like the top plane.
Yeah. I think it's more on the roof of the car, but I'm not positive about that. But the question was, can you talk about the perspective on the top portion of the car? Is it like a second box on top of the main body?
Oh, I guess they're talking about this right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm drawing it, yes. With this particular car, yeah, that's kind of how you would look at it, right? It's like you would draw a rectangle. If you were breaking it down to the most basic shapes, which is kind of what I do when I'm sketching it. I always start with just a general outline of the whole shape, because you kind of squint and get an idea of the entire shape first, and then break it down into a square in that, inside of that. So yeah, this is a 3D rectangle here, and then another one on top.
Right on top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could totally simplify it down that way.
Yeah, simplifying your shapes. What does it mean, Danny, when an artist talks about broken color? It's from South Africa. Question from South
Broken
Africa.
color. I'm guessing you're talking about like a dry brush effect, or the way that I'm doing, the way that what I would call broken colors, like the undermixed brush strokes.
Mm-hmm.
So like I just pulled from this pile here, which you can see has a lot of striated like red and pink and blue in there,
Yeah.
to do the shadowed part of my tail light. That's what I would think is being referred to there. But it could also be like the dry brush effect, where sometimes people will do another wool. This scene isn't necessarily predominantly cool, but if you were doing like a seascape or something, you leave some broken brush strokes, you do a dry brush effect and let some of that color show through, and because you have a warm color under a cool, it vibrates, and it looks really, our eyes, it looks good to our eyes.
Yeah.
Like all this orange like right up against the blue, just leaving a couple little hints of that in there.
Yeah.
Maybe that
It does. It is vibrating. It's really beautiful. I love all that color. That's one of the fun things about gouache too, is all of those, like even with your semi-limited palette, how you've gotten all of these beautiful colors and vibrant.
Yeah, the other thing just to keep in mind is like I was talking about this at my workshop last week, is I'm not, like I said earlier, I actually mentioned it already, to not cover a whole area with one stroke. Like I'm kind of mixing in between each brush stroke, just tinting the color a little bit, and it keeps things interesting, and it adds a lot of color and depth.
Oh, it really does.
That wouldn't be there if you had just like,
Mm-hmm.
covered this all with blue. And then like the temptation when we're starting out is to like, okay, so this is turquoise, so I'm gonna just paint turquoise and then go back in and add like the shadows and the reflected light and all that stuff. But I would say mix it and paint it that way as you're going. It keeps it a lot more interesting that way.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, this is looking so pretty, Danny.
Thanks. The when you're painting a car like this, I love these old cars because it's so much fun to paint the chrome. It's you just have to be very careful when you're doing it, and just paying attention to all the different reflected lights that are in that chrome, because that's what's going to make it read as believable or not.
Mm-hmm.
Any reflections on any cars, but particularly with chrome, because chrome, especially like on these bumpers, it wraps, so you're catching reflections from like every angle.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times if you're looking at chrome straight on, you're literally getting like, it's reflecting the ground, and then there's a strip right in the middle that's reflecting whatever's straight out.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of getting like the opposite of a fisheye, imagine like a sphered
Yeah.
mirror, and so it's reflecting everything around it. We don't have like all of, I can't suggest all of those little reflections just because this is a smaller.
What size is this one,
Okay.
Danny? What size?
This is only 6 by 8.
Yeah. The one that you practiced yesterday, was that a little bit larger, or was that the same size?
No, that's the same size.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of playing around here until this looks believable. There's two.
So that's a great tip. Just keep painting until it looks believable.
With an area like this, like with this back bumper, it's like there's so much going on in there, and I could. So another tip, a tip that might be more applicable is use a big brush. I mean, this is a 3/4 inch, and I'm not using anything smaller for this entire painting. I'm going to use a bigger 1 inch to do the background, but don't go any smaller. I say don't go any smaller than a 3/4 inch, like pretty much across the board, because it keeps you from, obviously there's instances where you're going to need a smaller brush. Like at the end, if I want to suggest that little antenna that's here, then I would use a thinner brush just to do that. But a bigger brush keeps you from getting caught up in all those little details, like back here in the bumper, that just are not with this size paper are not necessary to have fully rendered out.
So you're using, you like flat brushes? Is that a flat and 3/4 inch flat?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it a really high quality, or does it matter?
This is a Princeton 𝗍𝗶𝘁 is the brand. I don't know how high of quality they are compared to others, because I've actually only ever used this brush and this brand.
Got it. Yeah.
Got these brushes whenever I started. I guess I got them somehow, and I never got any other brushes. With gouache, you're always using watercolor brushes. You can use other like brushes that are meant for oils. There's different effects that you can get. I don't have any experience with that, but I've just heard a lot of people will ask a lot, oh, do you use oil brushes for gouache? And you totally can. It can give you, it's fun to mess around with different brushes because they all give you a different effect, obviously.
Yeah.
Like the other thing with sticking with one or two brushes is it's another way to simplify your process. Like what I can capture is kind of limited to what my brush is.
It's kind of important too that whatever you're used to practicing with is what you become more skilled at. So, if that's what you're starting with and then you become really good at it, it's kind of hard to switch it up.
Yeah. And I like the look of a flat. It kind of, you get all these like very structural, like blocky brush strokes that I just think look cool. I've tried, I have a couple of rounds in my kit. I just don't usually use them. If it's a busy landscape and there's a lot of foliage or something, sometimes I'll put some just a couple of blobs with a round or something. But I mostly like the edge of a flat for that stuff.
Yeah.
If you just kind of smash the end like this, it's a good,
you can do the same.
A good blob.
Yeah.
Trying to find the color of that sidewalk because it's cooler. Like it's actually warmer than the color of the white on the car, I think. But it's tough. It could go either way, cooler or warmer.
I wonder if we can see if we can get the reference photo up there.
Oh, I didn't realize it wasn't there.
Yeah, it's not there yet. I don't know if she could put it up there for us. Our tech support. We'll see if she can get that up there.
It was up earlier. I remember looking at it on my I could see it on my side. I'm just dropping in some sidewalk color. I'm not going to render out the entire background here. It's just not necessary. But I want to kind of set this in place. As I work off into the background behind here, because this top, and this is one thing I'm keeping in mind with a composition with a car like this, because the top of the car is white and it's the brightest thing in the page, I want whatever's directly behind it to be dark to bring that out. And that's what it is in the reference. Everything back here is in shade, so the car really pops. And to do that stuff, I'm just kind of making a muddy mess and mixing a little bit of every color. Because also when you have a little, the car's our focal point. So I don't want to have anything too crazy or anything attention grabbing in the background. I want to keep our focus on the car.
Right.
As I'm putting this into, I want to be careful to leave a little bit of an edge of that underpainting up against the white of the roof, so that we get that glow I was talking about earlier.
Right.
And then we'll do the umbrellas too. I like this view because the umbrellas are red, and the car's blue, so it just pops with them in the background. Generally with cars, the very top, I don't see it so much with this view. With this particular car, so generally, if you're looking at cars that are out at a distance, if it's in a street scene, most of the time the roofs, the top plane will reflect the sky color.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And with this one, we're a little closer up on it. I mean, it's so bright white. I see most of the sky color being reflected in the where it curves along the edge. I could drop in a little more blue, I think, and you can see it here. I kind of got it here.
Yeah.
But right as that shape curves, it's picking up sky color the most.
Very cool. So Danny, we have about 5 minutes left, maybe 4 minutes left. So I got so so engrossed in your process here and all these beautiful colors that I forgot to give you a little 15-minute warning. So we are.
I wasn't paying attention either.
I wasn't. No, it's going by too fast. So this is just fascinating. I
want to try and fill in this stuff real quick so that the car is kind of set in place here.
Yeah, I love it. It's really showing off the car when you're adding the values, the shadow or the distant buildings or whatever is behind the car. It was really cool.
If we, I wasn't paying attention to our time. I thought I would have a little more time to go in and really pick out some of the details in here. I mean, we've got the car in there. There's like all these little, like there's some writing there that you could suggest. There's a detail back here. I should drop in the license plate too.
Yeah.
But hopefully we covered some basics of suggesting cars. The good thing or the cool thing about cars too is I don't like painting people, and cars are great because they can add so much life to a scene without painting any figures.
They can still tell the story, tell us another part of the story. Yeah, well, I love classical cars too. So beautiful. Maybe there's some things we can share with our audience, Danny, about things that you want people to remember about gouache painting, or in particular painting vehicles, some tips to leave them with before we wrap it up.
So first, I would say draw cars. If you want to get better at painting cars, you have to start drawing them first. Because drawing is the base. That's what's most important, is that the drawing is accurate. So draw cars. I draw, like when I'm doodling, like at work or whatever, I put them on my Instagram a lot. I just draw cars at work because I like drawing cars. But if you want to get better at painting anything, you should draw it. And
that's true with everything. It's like, and if that's what you want to get better at, you got to practice.
And then paint them, try to do plein air studies as much as possible, because there's so much light. There's some, like when you're dealing with a subject like cars, there's all these little reflections and cool little colors that the phone is not going to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go out there and study it from life. With gouache in general, I think a big thing to keep in mind is that darks dry lighter and lights dry darker.
Okay.
I didn't talk so much about that today because we're focusing more on cars, but and that I think just takes a lot of reps to just practice mixing.
Yeah.
And figure out, what consistencies dry, how certain consistencies dry. the thicker you go, I think the closer the paint will dry to the color that you're mixing. You know, as if you paint a little more transparently, I think the color shifts more as it dries.
Wow, this is just so beautiful, Danny. So we're, if you want to know more about Danny and see more of his work, you can follow him on Instagram at Danny Folkman Art, at Danny Folkman Art, and or on his website, 𝗖𝗿𝗀𝗺.com. And I could just watch you all day, Danny. This is just so much fun.
Here's the so there's our side by side.
Side by side.
So this is what, you know.
Yeah.
This is what we're going for here.
Wow.
I kind of almost like this one better because I feel like this is a little looser.
Yeah.
More suggestive.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
So yeah.
Danny, do you want to, can you come back on screen for a second? We can say,
yes.
This has just been so much fun, and your process and techniques are incredible, and it's been really fun. And we could have gone a lot longer just because there's so much content, and you're very good at what you're doing. So, and it's been so fun to watch. I want both of those paintings. So, Danny, thank you for joining us. Everybody is so grateful. A couple people wanted to know about workshops and wanting to do workshops with you. So if you have that on your website, anytime you have an upcoming workshop, people can stay posted and find out more about studying with you. So thank you, Danny.
They'll be on my website and on my Instagram when they happen. I don't do them very often, but there will be more at some point. Yeah.
Well, we love having you with us today. Thank you so much for sharing. Take care. All right. So don't forget to visit Danny, 𝗖𝗿𝗀𝗺.com, and at Danny Folkman Art. And we have a gift for you today because we're painting in gouache. It's going to be the free ebook, 7 Reasons Gouache Might Be Your New Favorite Medium. Go to gouachelive.com/7reasons. And so gouache is, Gouache, Gouache Live. So also we want to check in with Eric, but we have to wait. Maybe tomorrow he's gonna send us something, an updated video from where he is painting and what he's been up to. So hopefully Eric will check in with us tomorrow, but he's in Florence, Italy. I'm sure having a blast. Wish we were with him and that he was with us, but can't wait to see what they've been up to in Florence, Italy. And if you haven't signed up for Plein Air Live, please go to Plein Air Live. pleinairlive.com, of course. Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's November 6th through 8th. It's coming up. Essential Techniques Day, November 5th. And boy, do they have an amazing lineup of artists to study with. And to learn from. So it's not to be missed. So you're going to want to make sure that you sign up for that if you haven't done that already. So also, don't forget to check out my website at 𝗖𝗿𝗀𝗺.com, 𝗖𝗿𝗍𝗍𝗵.com. And my Instagram handle is at 𝗖𝗍𝗍𝗵. So I, as usual, the third day goes by too fast, and it's been really fun hanging out with you. We've got 2 more days of amazing content. Tomorrow is 𝗣𝗶𝗫𝘁. I talked to her on the phone last night, and she has got some amazing tips for us for tomorrow and painting atmosphere. And she's an amazing seascape painter. I can't wait to share with you everything that she's going to be sharing with us. So tune in tomorrow for Rebecca Arguello and Tiffany Meng on Friday. And as always, it's been really fun hanging out with everybody today. Great questions, great energy in the chat box and the comments. And I love hosting. So glad to be here with you all. See you tomorrow.